Hey, it's Zaria. In this video, I'll talk about the add-ons and the WeakAuras that I've been using for Mythic Plus. This is the first season that I've ever wanted to do higher keys and learn a little bit more about Mythic Plus. At the time of this video, my score on my resto druid is 3528 in Season 3 of Dragonflight. Previously, I'd always done Mythic Plus to fill out my vault, to then have higher chances of, getting different pieces of gear, to then use for Mythic rating. So I've learned a lot so far this season, and I want to share the add-ons and the WeakAuras that have been the most helpful for me. Not all of them are necessary, and you can choose the ones that you want to use, and maybe you are already using some of these, but I feel like add-ons are just a way to show information from the game a little bit differently on your screen. The first few add-ons I want to mention are general add-ons that most people, or maybe some people, might already be using either for Mythic Plus or for rating. These include Little Wigs / Big Wigs or DBM, depending on which one you use, WeakAuras, and Details. Personally, I use Little Wigs and Big Wigs. This is the first expansion that I've used them. Previously, in other expansions, I had always used DBM, but I think it's just preference. It just depends on which one you want to use. This is an add-on that displays fight timers on bosses, both in Raid and in Mythic Plus. So it just, again, it gives you information from fights, and it just displays it in different ways for you to interpret. WeakAuras is one of my favorite add-ons, and I'll go a little bit more in depth with this one later on when I talk about the WeakAuras that I use for Mythic Plus. But basically what this add-on does is it allows you to create icons or bars or some kind of indication on your screen, whether it is a visual appearance or sounds, things like that, about abilities either on a fight, debuffs that go out, abilities that, if you have an ability that you want to hear a bite horn when it's off cooldown, you can create these alerts for yourself to help you on a fight, either again in Mythic Plus or in rating. Another general add-on that I recommend is Details. Details allows you to track damage done in a dungeon or in a raid, healing done, interrupts, dispels, player deaths, and things like that. Basically, again, information that you might want to have on your screen. It also has a feature where you can type /key in chat, and it brings up a list of keys that people have in your group or in your guild. Radario is another general add-on that doesn't necessarily help you in a key itself and with doing the key, but it offers information about the dungeons that you've done or that other players have done. It shows you your score, it shows you your best run and things like that. So again, it's just an add-on that gives you information about Mythic Plus in general. Other add-ons I want to talk more specifically about are Warp Deplete, Omnic CD, pler, pre-made group filter, M+ gains, and method dungeon tools. Warp Deplete is an add-on that overhauls the in-game appearance of the Mythic Plus dungeon timer. You can see how much time you have left to 3 chest or 2 chest or just time the dungeon in general. It also shows you how much trash percent that you have left. It shows you the bosses that you've killed, and it gives you the same information that the in-game appearance does when you enter a Mythic Plus dungeon, but it just shows it a little bit differently. For me, I kind of go for a more minimalistic look when it comes to information like this because I don't need something fancy. I don't need the information to look fancy. I just want to know how much time is left in the dungeon, what is our trash percent at, and this add-on is a really nice way to customize it to look the way that you want it to. You can change the font, the size, the colors of the bars, things like that, and you can just kind of put it off in the corner or wherever you want it to go, and it offers the same information just with a different look. Omnic CD is an add-on that allows you to track other people's abilities, trinkets, or other items, and have these icons show up around your party frames. As a healer, this is especially helpful for me on higher keys because I need to know who to focus heals on if they don't have a defensive, or I need to know who to give Iron Bark to or Leaf, and if I see that they don't have any personal defensives, then I know that they need something. So the fights that come to mind are maybe Archmage, Soul, and Everbloom, or the Racking Pain in atal'dazar, things like that. If I see that they are not going to live through an ability or through AoE or something, then I can see what abilities they have available, what cooldowns, and if I don't see anything, then I am able to help them out somehow. I can also see things like cooldowns like Darkness or Rallying Cry or Mass Barrier. So if you are in a group, if you're in a coordinated group, I should say, and you're all maybe in voice, and you're fighting dragons in Rise, right? Maybe it's a fort week and it's a higher key, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what does my group have utility-wise to get through these dragons, to mitigate the damage just a little bit. So if you have a demon hunter in your group and you look down and you see that, oh, Darkness is on cooldown, but oh, you have a mage in the group and mass barrier is available, then maybe you coordinate those cooldowns and you say, hey, I need your mass barrier on this next AoE, or I need your rallying cry for the next one, or hey, can you Zephyr this one if you have an evoker, things like that. So Omnic CD is very helpful in showing other people's abilities. I don't track everything because as a healer, trying to, get through the dungeon and making sure that you get through trash and bosses successfully while also tracking basically 4 other people's spell books just isn't really possible for me. So I pick and choose the abilities that I want to see that I think are most helpful for me to successfully heal and get through a dungeon. Plater is another add-on that I love. It changes the appearance of nameplates. You can import plater profiles and see which one works best for you, or if you're feeling particularly ambitious, you could create your own profile. I just use one off of Wago, but certain profiles will change the nameplate color for casters, priority targets, and other targets that are important to interrupt, but maybe not crucial to interrupt. The pre-made group filter was kind of a game changer for me. It shows you which classes are in a group that's listed in the LFG section in the game. This can be important for hierarchies when you're looking for specific buffs or abilities like Mass Barrier or Zephyr or Darkness or whatever it is you're looking for. Another part of this add-on that I love is the ability to filter listings. For example, if you're after a couple of specific keys, you can select those keys on the far right side, then in the search bar, type a range of key levels that you need. You can also select party fit, and the only groups that will show up are the ones that your party can queue up for. So for example, if you're playing a healer, then it won't show you groups that already have a healer in the group. M+ gains is another one of my favorite add-ons. When I first started doing keys this season, I was guessing about which key levels I needed to hit a specific score. This add-on allows you to check off different key levels for the current week and the next week to see what your score would be. So if you're sitting at 2400 score and you're trying to hit 2500, then you can check off different key levels in dungeons to see which ones you need to complete in order to hit 2500. Mythic Dungeon Tools is an add-on that allows you to create routes or see routes that others have created. One of the first things I do when I join a key is I ask the tank to link a route if they haven't already done so. I take a look at the route and sometimes make suggestions if I'm worried about something, but usually the route was fine. The other nice thing about this add-on is that it saves all of the different routes that you have imported in the add-on. So if you run a lot of keys and people keep linking their routes, you can select the dungeon that you want, and then there's another drop-down list that allows you to select different routes that you have saved. I also use a few WeakAuras that have been incredibly helpful for me as I've learned how to heal higher keys this season. The first WeakAura that I recommend is the Season 3 Affixes. This WeakAura pack contains bars and timers for specific WeakAuras throughout the season. So if it is an entangling week, then it shows you a bar somewhere on your screen with the timings for entangling, so whether entangling may or may not go off. It also does this with Incorporeal and Afflicted. Another separate WeakAura that I use for Afflicted is one that has a little icon on my screen and it shows me the number of afflicted adds that have spawned, so whether it's 1 or 2, and there's also a text-to-speech component that actually tells you how many have spawned and if they have cleared. And this separate WeakAura has also been super helpful for me because previously, before I had used this, I used to just spend afflicted weeks kind of looking around my screen, the camera angle, looking around my screen, panicking, trying to see, okay, was there 1 ad that spawned? Are there 2? Were they cleared? Or is 1 off in the corner somewhere about to go off? So this WeakAura pack that shows you the Season 3 affixes has been so helpful for me this season. Another important WeakAura, if not my favorite WeakAura, is one that shows you trash abilities next to the nameplates on your screen. This has also been helpful to track the timings for certain abilities, for things like Crushing Depths and Throne of the Tides, Berserker Leaps in Everbloom, the Stingers in Everbloom, the Cat Leaps in Blackrock Hold, and so much more. It's basically, again, just to see information that is displayed on your screen a little bit differently. These show up really nicely. It's just a little icon that is on one side of your nameplates. Another favorite WeakAura is one that shows targeted abilities on your party frames. This is helpful to see because if someone is low and they're also being targeted by an ability, then you can prioritize healing that person or give them a defensive or your relief trinket or whatever you have and make sure that they are healthy by the time that that targeted ability goes off. I also use a WeakAura that is specific to Season 3, and it's one that tracks Latosius' bolt on the last boss in Blackrock Hold. This is helpful in higher keys because I know when to bear form the bolt or when I need to start healing someone if they're the one who's hit. The WeakAura doesn't tell you who's being targeted by the bolt, but it does tell you when someone in the group will take damage from the bolt. The last WeakAura that I recommend is one that is used with little wigs / big wigs or DBM depending on which one you use. And it comes with sounds and icons that also have text to speech. So this WeakAura pack announces when to run away from something, how many debuffs are out on players, and things like that. It works with bigwigs or DPM, which as I said is really helpful, so you don't have to worry about switching to a different add-on. You can use it with either of them. Personally, I do really well with sounds, whether it's a WeakAura sound in general for a specific ability, or whether it's something like this that works with bigwigs or DPM, because as a healer, my eyes are usually on my frames or where I'm standing or where other people are or whatever else is going on in a fight. So anything that has text to speech or has a sound alert is really helpful for me, because I can just continue to focus on, whatever I'm looking at, but also hear that extra information being read out loud to me. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these add-ons or WeakAuras, and also let me know if you use any other add-ons or WeakAuras that have been helpful for you in Mythic Plus.